If a tree falls in the forest but nobody is around to hear, did it even make a sound? If a meme build actually wins consistently, is it even a meme build? Is any build troll warlord goes a troll build? I don't have all the answers, but what I do have for you today is a brand new way for you to play a hero. Despite normally being very passive and cooldown reliant, did you know that Tidehunter is situated perfectly to become the next big mid and carry? Welcome to a Proguides special feature. My name is Dan, and we're going to be learning all about right-click Tidehunter. But first, our question of the day. What is a hero that used to be viable as a support that you wish was back in the meta? Fresh in my mind is Clinkz. When I saw Kuroki play it as a support, that was so cool, and it was actually really good. Clinkz is better now, but only a core because you need so many more levels. Tide was not doing well since patch 7.23. The main culprit of this decline was the fact that every melee hero was granted an innate damage block, providing a 50% chance to block 16 damage. Tide got no buff to Kraken Shell to make up for this. Essentially, level 1 Kraken was a complete joke of a skill point, and all around the spell was made worse. Now, in 7.27c, for the first time since, Tide has reached a positive win rate for all brackets, but we believe the hero can be pushed even further. Why be a beta fish with mech blink when you can be an alpha fish with Dezo Daedalus? Supports will disintegrate in front of your eyes. Even farmed cores won't leave a dent in your shell. Gush is Tide's first spell. A point-and-click gush of water slows a single target while reducing their armor. Great value point now, pretty abysmal scaling. Kraken Shell is your passive and is one half of the reason Tide is better played as a farming core. Fresh waterly buffed from 7.27b, this skill now reduces 50 attack damage before reductions. But what we really care about is the fact that every time you take 450 damage within 6 seconds, you purge debuffs. On offlane or support Tide, this is cool because it means you almost always get off Ravage, but for right-click Tide, this is back-breaking for the enemy team. You can't be chain stunned. You have part of Aeon Disc and BKB built in, and you don't even have to activate it, unlike Rage from Lifestealer. This right here, what a sick ability. It's like what if Mars had Rebuke on a 4-second cooldown, and by the way, it reduces the enemy's damage. This was such a slept-on change in 7.20. It should have completely revolutionized the way that we play Tidehunter. What change am I talking about? When they changed Anchor Smash from flat damage to your attack damage with 180 bonus. This spell is so busted with attack damage. You don't need attack speed on Tidehunter because Anchor Smash doesn't benefit from it. Raw damage synergizes best. Oh, and it even applies modifiers, like Scatty or Desolator. Oh, and it has True Strike so it can't miss, too. Ravage is a black hole level ultimate that wins team fights. Still, not as good as Anchor Smash though. Be warned, the tentacles come out slower than they did in the past, so if someone is already some distance out, you will miss if they are running away. The AoE expands at 725 move speed out to 1250 distance. Because Kraken is always your back, always got your back, you don't have to use this just to initiate. You don't have to worry about dying before getting this off, so often it's best to save it for 3 heroes or at least 2 key targets. This might as well be the only skill build. You do have some freedom in talents. Gush damage is fine and a must if you want to go Ags. The extra damage reduction at 15 is good only against illusion cores, which to be fair, there are quite a lot in meta. At 20, you can take Gush minus armor if you get Ags as well. Every Tide ever maxes Anchor Smash even before the rework. You should always save your first skill point on any hero until you arrive at lane, and Tide is no exception. You may need level 1 Gush for a kill attempt. The only other choice is between Gush or Kraken Max. Don't max Gush second. It has been done by a few pro players, but 50 magic damage and -1 armor while also going up in mana cost is one of the worst deals in the game. If you go mid and have 0 kill potential, you can forego Gush until as late as level 8 if you wish. Starting items: Quelling Blade, 2 sets of tangos, circlet, 2 branches. We're opting for some standard good stuff. Not much to say here. You can opt to buy a mango or 2 for the Watermelon Man to achieve that healthy eating synergy. As for the early game, Bracer, Wand, Phase Boots, Morbid Mask, Sage's Mask, Raindrop. This array of items provides Tidehunter with the start of the Steel Cannon build? Like Glass Cannon, but also tanky. This build is so strong because despite buying only damage items, we survive a long time since Anchor Smash works with all modifiers, including Lifesteal. The best defense is a good offense for Tide. Just press Anchor Smash and watch that HP skyrocket back up. Echo Saber is what really brings this build together. You may have seen right-click Tide before, but what you probably haven't heard of is Echo Saber Tide. Echo Tide! Echo Tide, Echo Tide, Echo Tide. Anyway, according to Dota buff, Echo is over 700 times less popular than Blink, but what we're telling you is to skip Blink and buy Echo Saber. We buy no attack speed with this build, so the double hit is maximum value on our high damage but slow swings. Also, the passive slow of Echo is applied by Anchor Smash as well and makes a bigger difference than you'd think for staying on targets. Desolator is just the perfect item for carry Tidehunter. Somewhat moderate cost, high damage, even further synergy with the minus armor from Gush. I want a Desolator cosmetic instead of the anchor in his hand. Now Kunkka knows he can't mess with us. You thought you were the one-hitter killer, old man? You've been smoking that pipe for too long. It's us, Tidehunter, who one-hit kills now. You don't need to wait for these luxuries. Tide reaches a deadly timing once all the aforementioned items are done, but he also scales perfectly well up against the hardest of carries. It's comical to see a Spectre be unable to touch this dude who drags around a dead fish like a blankie. Daedalus is just too good to pass up, and with our level 25 200 damage talent, supports will be one shot. Silver Edge is an upgrade for Echo and allows for better positioning to Ravage, which we haven't even talked about as much as Anchor Smash. Kind of ironic because many people consider Tide a walking Ravage. Exactly the situation you'll avoid with this build. Walking Ravage no longer. Walking Death Machine of heck and destruction now. Satanic makes us nigh unkillable, and you'll often full heal even without the active. Vlad's is very common on Tide, but we're choosing to skip it because the bonus damage from it only applies to base damage, of which we build very little of. Nullifier for the 6th slot because surely after being one-punched one too many times, your opponents will have a Ghost Scepter or two. Medallion for minus armor and mana. Vlad's if you're off lane and your team needs it. Pipe for heavy magic damage. Mjolnir if you're against many illusions and you already have a Dezo buyer like TA. Rapier for ultra late game or as a third item for those with no respect for their team's sanity. And the best of all, the Ags. Criminally underrated, Tide's Ags often changes to Gush to a skill you hit twice a fight instead of 6 times minimum, and it's excellent for farming. The AoE is so generous and the cooldown is almost halved. Yes, if you want to be normal, Blink is still good even on right-click Tide. In mid, we are an immovable object. Probably can't ever kill a ranged opponent, but have some openings in melee versus melee once Ravage is leveled. For mid, prioritize mana and Morbid Mask before boots or anything else so we can just push the wave fast and head to the nearest jungle camp to stack or clear. Counter picks like Ursa or Monkey King exist, as always, but mid is the safest lane for Tide in the event of a counter pick because of the short distance of the lane. The real counter picks are the likes of Leshrac or Shadow Fiend. These laners that otherwise are weak in lane against other meta mids but free farm against us. They scale and farm just as fast as we do, so be careful. The great news is Tide can be played in any core position if you have a teammate who wishes to swap lanes with you. We also hate dying to spells we can't kraken off like Faceless Void's Chronosphere or Disruptor's Static Storm. These heroes aren't necessarily good against Tide, but they require smarter positioning and maybe Blink Dagger. In the early game, only go out of your way to teamfight when Ravage is up. We need a lot of farm, and we farm very fast with this build, so we only want to fight when our trump card is off cooldown, because it as good as guarantees a one fight. In safe lane, Tide is super resilient and not bullied by even the most feared harassers like Nature's Prophet. A big change of pace from the normally fragile safe laner, Tide is a consistent anchor in the lane that will go even or win the matchup. In teamfights, you want to play very aggressive because Kraken allows us to do so. The enemy will part like the Red Sea out of fear of Ravage, which grants you free reign. Or if they aren't used to playing against carry Tide, which, hey, who is? They might even try to burst you down and group up on you, which is a lethal mistake. Either way, Kraken is such an insane skill for a DPSer, and you must abuse it as such. Your attack speed is lethargic, so make sure to attack move. After you get off an attack, just keep walking at the enemy to ensure you'll still be in range for another Anchor Smash. The Prowler Ancient Camp was removed, which helps Tide a lot. Have a support stack Ancients when possible, and farm it up around level 8 and let a support take the lane you left. As a support, you make 40% of the Ancients gold when they are killed, so this is both selfish and selfless. As always, thanks so much for watching. The amount of support and constructive feedback you give us allows us to make the content that you want to see. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to be notified of our videos as they come out. Until next time, peace out everyone.